What's up, my friends? I pray that you are standing strong. So the question we have before us is, does bodily autonomy or should bodily autonomy override the life of an unborn child? Well, the legislators and Governor Murphy believe so. Matter of fact, in New Jersey, they just passed into law the Freedom Reproductive Choice Act. Now, this new law gives women more contraception, more access to contraception, more abortion services, and assistance in carrying a woman to full term. So if an expectant mother wants to be a mother, if she wants to go into motherhood, be a parent, boom, because of bodily autonomy, make that happen. Well, if that same expected mother, because of bodily autonomy, doesn't want to become a mother or parent, boom, abort the baby, end of discussion. And I want in this video for you guys to understand that there's this ploy that's going out there among abortion advocates to not use terminology like abortion anymore. Matter of fact, in the Freedom Reproductive Choice Act, they don't even mention abortion at all. They like to use this new terminology: reproductive rights, reproductive freedom, reproductive health care, reproductive justice. But let's not be fooled. Make no mistake about it. The Freedom Reproductive Choice, now law, is codifying abortion in New Jersey, and they're using it as this constitutional sacred right for women. And we who oppose it are bigots, racists, whatever, and we don't want to interfere with that because we have no rights. This is their right, their body, their choice. And you guys, this is setting a precedent for other states to follow because they're concerned about what's going to take place possibly in the Supreme Court ruling and overturning aspects of Roe v. Wade. Now, that's not going to overturn every abortion law on the books within the individual states because states are sovereign. They're sovereign and they have their own constitutions. But this will definitely apply a heavy hand on organizations like Planned Parenthood. So I want to make you guys aware of these things because we are called in Scripture to be the voice of the voiceless. When somebody who's innocent going to the slaughter, we are to say something. We are to stand in the gap. We are made in the image of God. And so we care for all life, especially the life that is being threatened, the innocent life in the womb. We are to stand in their defense, you guys. And so I want to help you guys by showing you 4 clips, and I will respond to each one of them. Now, there are many reasons why we need to be addressing this. The main reason, as I just mentioned earlier, is the sanctity of life, but also because a lot of young people, you guys, are falling prey to these lies that are being advanced by abortion advocates. Notice here on Christianity Today, this was a survey. Now, notice it was among white self-identified evangelicals, so this is a limited study. But you see the progression here from 18 to 35-year-olds. It says they share in favor of abortion as a choice. Now, obviously, you see it drop off, and you wonder, why is that happening? Well, it's happening because young people are buying into this bodily autonomy terminology. And that's what the agenda wants, you guys, on the side of it, or I should say, in support of abortion. They don't want them to know what the real agenda here is, because the rights that are given to these women, bodily autonomy, what does it lead to? It leads to the stripping of rights and taking of life of the innocent. But they don't want them to know that. Because here's the thing, when you talk to young people and you lay out a case for life for them, or as I've seen my wife and other women take other women who are going to an abortion mill to have an abortion, right? They're intent on it. Obviously, many of them are very emotional. And so they come and they love on them and they take them, into the expected mother into an ultrasound unit and show them pictures of their unborn child. Man, you guys, it is powerful because it right there in front of them reminds them that this is a precious human life that you are to protect. And so I'm going to show you this first clip, and you may be wondering, what on earth does this have to do with abortion? And I'll get to that in a minute, but check out this clip.
Another unfathomable day of loss of life, 117 confirmed deaths today.
Okay, so right off the bat here, Governor Murphy starts off his press conference by acknowledging those who have tragically died of COVID. And good for him. Good for him, because we are mourning the loss of loved ones, you guys, due to COVID. That's a reality. But may I insert this here? This is as a reminder. Let's understand what is taking place here. On the one hand, you have Governor Murphy recognizing the loss of human life, yet he's about to sign into law the rights of women in New Jersey to have abortions, even to full term. See, that's the irony. That's the whole thing about abortion advocates here, you guys, is a walking contradiction. They make it sound like pro-lifers only care about the life in the womb, and we don't care about any other life. We're not caring about the poor, the homeless, and the people with disabilities, which is not true. I like how one of my friends says it. Just because you go to a cancer society and it's only focused on women with breast cancer, does that mean they don't care about people with prostate cancer or leukemia? Of course not. They're specializing in a particular field to help those people who are suffering with a particular disease. That doesn't mean they don't care about other life. So we would not segregate or call out people who are treating a certain disease, caring for those particular human beings, as though they are careless or they don't, care about other human life. Of course not. And so that's what I'm saying here with the abortion advocates, people like Governor Murphy. They're on one hand, they're acknowledging this life, but they're not acknowledging the life of that precious life in the womb. So no matter how they try to avoid it, the fact remains that the unborn babies are living whole human beings with intrinsic value and with invaluable worth. And we know this not because it's our opinion or it's our religion. We know this because of science of embryology, that life begins at the moment of conception. And you guys, that's the real issue here. And we can't ignore this. And they're trying to fool young people. Why are people so emotional about this? Why when you talk to women who've had an abortion, they talk about the trauma that they've experienced, or they're out there protecting them at all costs so that they can have an abortion because it's a human being. That's why. Because if it wasn't, we wouldn't have all this emotion. We wouldn't have a lot of these debates. We wouldn't have all these arguments. We wouldn't be talking about bodily autonomy, about choosing the rights of a woman over the rights of the life in the womb. So let's not be fooled to believe in what they're saying about bodily autonomy. Matter of fact, you can give 2 points in a conclusion when you're having a conversation with somebody who's in support of abortion. To find common ground, the first point that you can make is you can ask them, do you believe that all human beings have intrinsic value? You will be hard-pressed to find somebody who disagrees with that. Well, the second point then you make is, do you know, based on the science of embryology, that the unborn are human beings? So what's the conclusion then? Our conclusion based on those 2 points is that, therefore, the unborn have intrinsic value. And so you can't just be, on one side, mourning the loss of human beings and yet celebrating the rights of people to end the life of another human being. That is messed up, you guys, which leads now to this second video that I want to show you.
With that being said, in a few moments, I will sign into state law the assurance that every generation of New Jerseyans will have the right to bodily autonomy and the right to decide whether and when to become a parent, no matter in which direction the political winds may blow.
Okay, so here now, the second clip has to do with bodily autonomy. I've been using this term. This is the main thrust of why I put out this video. So they like to champion, the abortion advocates, that a bodily autonomy basically can also be interpreted as reproductive justice, reproductive health care, reproductive freedom. They even go as far as talking about life-saving health care. But how could it be life-saving if the woman is putting herself in jeopardy, in danger, because she wants to abort a child? How can that be life-saving health care? See, this is the glamorized terminology they use to confuse people. Matter of fact, when you look at the International Encyclopedia of Public Health, this is how they define reproductive rights. Quote, human rights intended to protect the inherent dignity of the individual. Now, the reason why they're able to advance this type of agenda, you guys, is because this is all cloaked under constitutional rights. And of course, we, as Americans, we pride ourselves on our Bill of Rights and our constitutional rights. But here's the thing. Number one, guess what? Nowhere in the Constitution does it talk about abortion. Matter of fact, many abortion rights activists and legal scholars, they willingly admit that Roe was an overreach of the 14th Amendment. I mean, listen to what former Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg had to say about Roe. She writes, quote, Roe, I believe, would have been more acceptable as a judicial decision if it had not gone beyond a ruling on the extreme statute before the court. Heavy-handed judicial intervention was difficult to justify and appears to have provoked, not resolved, conflict, end quote. So you see, my friends, the bottom line is when we look at this case, when they're arguing about bodily autonomy, what about the bodily autonomy of the unborn? What about the inherent dignity of the unborn? We cannot, I encourage you, my friends, as a pro-lifer, we cannot allow this deliberate disregard for the unborn when it's being advanced by the abortion advocates. We not only need to notice it, we need to call it out. People like Governor Murphy and organizations like Planned Parenthood and other politicians or abortion advocates, they believe that providing abortion services is like a fundamental right because it's of greater value than the intrinsic value represented in the womb. We can't stand for that. Put it another way. Here's a second thing I lean over, in this case about bodily autonomy that could be helpful for you as a pro-lifer. Just because an unborn baby doesn't share the same traits as the expected mother, it doesn't mean the mother is more valuable than the unborn baby. You see, if abortion advocates want to apply that reasoning to the unborn, it must be applied to every human person then. So what do you do with older people who are incapable of caring for themselves? What do you do with somebody who's less intelligent, who has less traits than another group? Do we get rid of them? You can't say that a woman's bodily autonomy overrides the bodily autonomy of another human being, because you're in essence saying that that human being, the expected mother, is far greater and is of more worth and value than the life of the unborn. That, my friends, is discrimination. And so this emphasis of choice to strengthen the base of their argument for bodily autonomy, you guys, we have to recognize that is a personal preference. It's not based on fundamental rights because it's not based on an ultimate standard because it doesn't come from God. It's not approved by God. And the other thing we got to point out, number 3, is what about the meaning of parent then? What is meant by parent? Remember, he says they have a right to choose whether they feel it's right to become a parent. Parent of what? Obviously, a parent of a child. You and I know you can't be a parent without having a child. So when abortion advocates like Governor Murphy say a woman has a right to bodily autonomy, to have a right when they want to become a parent, that's personal preference. Their rights are not more valuable. Therefore, they don't have a right to undermine the rights of other human beings. And might I add, the bodily autonomy argument gives the woman an unprecedented right to determine what life is and if it's worth living. So you can pose to an abortion advocate, you say, hey, do you believe that somebody has a right to undermine the rights of another human being? Do you also believe a human being has a right to determine what life is and if it's worth living? Of course not. That, my friend, is not only presumptuous from the standpoint of the abortion advocate, but it's also outright contemptuous and mocking of the life inside the womb. So I pray that you would call it out. Let me show you guys another thing that's so ridiculous about this when it comes to bodily autonomy. This is on the Endangered Species Condom website. And one of the reasons to support abortion as a right, notice they say follows: having a baby is one of the biggest decisions you'll make for your life. So notice they're calling it a baby. Notice biggest decisions. Why is it a big decision if it's not life? Notice they say for the planet and for the new person, refers to it as a person, you're bringing into the world. Each additional child increases your carbon legacy by 20 times what you could save over a lifetime of recycling, switching to low voltage light bulbs, and driving a hybrid car combined. For everyone's sake, people should have the tools to decide when and if having children is right for them, end quote. So their argument essentially is bringing in a human being is wasteful. That's what they're saying. So you got to be very careful before you have a child, because it's basically a mechanism of waste. Here's the truth on the matter. This is my last point on this issue of bodily autonomy. Bodily autonomy is not autonomous to God's laws. Bodily autonomy is not autonomous to God's laws. No human being, neither the expected mother, a doctor, a politician, government, no one has the power to determine the nature of human life and its worth. So friends, let us not be fooled by the rhetoric of bodily autonomy, the sly medical terms that is being presented by abortion advocates. That leads me now to our third video.
To those on the other side of this issue, and there are many overwhelmingly well-intentioned people, many of whom, by the way, have reached out to me directly. I hope that we can come together in the greater calling of our faiths to make parenthood an easier, safer, and healthier choice for anyone or any family in search of support. We can each hold our own personal, deeply felt views and still respect each individual's ability to make their own decisions.
Okay, so notice here, first off, I don't know how abortion leads to safe parenting. And the third clip here has to do with how he refers to people of the other side. Other side of exactly what? And you're like, oh, I get it. I get what Governor Murphy he's doing. He's a sly guy here because he doesn't want to mention them as pro-lifers, because what does that imply? What does that indicate? That we stand for life. And so he doesn't mention that. And the other thing is, and they make it sound like they're the good guys and we're the bad guys because we're opposing something that's of the good. And, you know, they're not opposing us. They want to come together and we want to work together, to advance the greater good of people choosing when they want to be parents. And isn't that a good thing? Guys, we cannot support the killing of innocent human life. Nobody fundamentally has a right to do that in the first place. So there is no finding common ground when it comes to taking the innocent life in the womb. That doesn't mean that we are not to love these kind of people and try to reason with them. And that's what I'm hopefully trying to do in this video, is to give you guys some tools, not ammunition, but give you some tools, to reason with these kind of people that are trying to advance this kind of stuff. So they don't want to use the term abortion, nor do they want to use the term pro-life. And so they're very sly and sneaky about this whole stuff. That leads me now to the fourth video here.
My own journey and evolution on this issue has not been easy, and is one that through great reflection has landed on ultimate respect and trust for others. Respect especially for those with limited means, for whom restrictions on access to reproductive health care has the most devastating effect, and trust that each of us is our own best judge and advisor. To be sure, I have leaned on my faith to inform and enhance many of my most deeply held values. And as I said, this one has been a hard one for me. Yet I would be running afoul of those very same values if I used my personal faith to deny services, especially health services, to those who reach different personal conclusions through their own faith. I cannot allow that to happen, and I will not. Last week, Reverend Pat Conroy, a Jesuit priest who served as chaplain for the House of Representatives for 10 years, spoke to the Washington Post about being pro-choice and Catholic, as I am. And he said, and I quote Father Conroy, "A good Catholic in our system could be saying, given women in our system have this constitutional right, our task as fellow Christians or as Catholics is to make it possible for her to optimize her ability to make the choice."
All right, so here's the last thing about religious interference. If you notice, there's a lot there, but I want to be brief, okay, out of respect of your time. Notice how Governor Murphy mentions his evolution on this issue. He says it's not been easy, and he attempts to reconcile his faith with abortion as, being governor of New Jersey. And he doesn't want to force his religious views on anyone, because he certainly doesn't want to prevent women from having abortion because, again, bodily autonomy, it's their fundamental right. So he says it's out of respect and trust, and, people make their own best judgment, and we have to not just respect that, but believe in that because of bodily autonomy, you will make the right decision ultimately because it's your body. But then Murphy goes on to say that his faith has played an integral role in shaping his beliefs and values. And those same values have helped him resolve that it's of greater value and importance to advance a woman's right to have an abortion. And you're thinking, well, which is it? This is a walking contradiction. You say that you have evolved through this by looking at your religious values, and you can't let your religious values interfere and tell, women that they can't have an abortion as a politician, as governor. But then you say that your faith has played an integral role in shaping this. And those same values that at once believed that abortion was a moral evil, you're now implying those values have helped shape you in your evolution to now be in support of abortion. And you're saying this as a Catholic when in fact he knows, and I'm saying this because he is a Catholic, I'm not a Catholic, But the Catechism of the Catholic Church states emphatically, quote, since the first century, the Church has affirmed the moral evil of every procured abortion. This teaching has not changed and remains unchangeable, end quote. So you can quote as many people as you possibly want. And this is another contradiction, you guys, I want to expose to you right here, right now. He infers, he brings in support his decision as a governor who's Catholic, but he's not letting his religious views interfere with his decisions as a politician, as a governor. But yet he goes to quote Pat Connery, who is a Catholic, a Jesuit, who is a former chaplain of the House of Representatives, in support that we have to advance this as a Catholic, to be pro-choice, to give women the rights to have an abortion. Guys, this is a walking contradiction. Now, as someone who is pro-life, or if you're pro-life, we don't oppose a woman's right to have an abortion because we find it revolting. That's simply a matter of personal preference. No, we oppose abortion because it violates moral principles. It is morally wrong to kill an innocent human being. We know that the life in the womb is a human being based on the science of embryology, not because it's my opinion. So we are not to allow ourselves to be subjected to this kind of nonsense that's pushed by abortion advocates. And last thing to be said, the liberal people on this side that are abortion advocates are very inconsistent in their reasoning, because if you go back to liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor, in her cross-examination in December of 2021 in the Supreme Court hearing of Mississippi Department of Health versus Jackson Women's Health Organization, she said that when this whole debate over the beginning of life, it's more of a religious view than a scientific one, which you and I know is absurd, because based on the science of embryology, we know that life begins at conception. It doesn't matter what you think to be true, what your religion, your sacred texts say. We see in reality, we see scientifically that life begins at conception. So which is it? On one hand, you have Sonia Sotomayor saying that your religious views determine whether life begins at conception. And yet you have the governor who is an abortion advocate like Sonia Sotomayor, and she's saying that you can't let your religious views interfere on where you stand with whether or not life begins at conception. So guys, you see the inconsistencies that are before us when it comes to what the abortion advocates are trying to convince us to believe, because the agenda here is giving people the right to not only have abortions, but determine what actually life is and if it's worth living. So I conclude, you guys, the video by referring you guys to a passage in Scripture in Psalm 127, beginning in verse 3, that I want to end to encourage you. It says, "Behold, children are a heritage from the Lord, the fruit of the womb a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior, and the children of one's youth are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks with his enemies in the gate." So you guys, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I pray this has inspired and emboldened you to go out there to defend the sanctity of life. Until next time, keep standing strong, my friends.